Welcome everyone to the April meeting of the Saginaw City Planning Commission. If you are here to present a case, please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and make your presentation. No, I'm not this very minute. I'm just reading my thing. But you can stay there too. That's fine.
You got a couple of things.
Adjust the microphone.
You got a couple of things we have to do first. Little housekeeping.
We may ask you questions for clarity or for more information. Simple majority vote of the commission does decide on your request. If anyone is here to speak in the public comment phase of the meeting, please also come to the podium, give your name and address for the record, direct your comments to the commission. We have no time limit, but brevity is appreciated. Let's begin with the roll call. Mr. Prowse.
Doan.
Here.
Jones. Colores. Nightingale.
Present.
Nash.
Present.
Hanley.
Here.
Sawerko.
Here.
Taggett.
First item on the agenda is approval of our March minutes, which we all have, I assume. So I would entertain any corrections, additions, deletions. If there are none, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
So support?
Support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Under new business, we have case number 140009, Corrigan Oil Company, to present to us.
Hi, my name is Paul Schmucker. I'm representing Corrigan Oil. I'm with Oscar W. Larson Company, and the site that's in question is 3540 State Street for canopy and canopy structural approval. And I've got a letter here for authorization to giving us authorization to act as owner agent for Corrigan 2. So.
Okay. Under comments of the case, a sentence refers to use of the property will not change, but possibly type of products being sold. Do you know what that means?
If it pertains to the C-store, inside the store, I'm not aware of what that would be, but pertaining to the outside for the fueling dispensers, you know, you're going to have your octanes, your 8793, and your mid-grade, and also diesel for fueling for the cars. But if it's for the interior, I don't know what the changes would be.
Do you know, Mike, what that is?
As far as the gas goes, it's going to change from Sunoco to BP.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what you meant. Okay, excuse me.
Well, I just wondered because it said use of the property will not change, only the owner and the type of products being sold. So does that raise any question or not?
No,
Okay.
not really, no.
All right. We would need information from the engineering department, I guess. So
Engineering just received the elevations and grades this afternoon from the Design Incorporated, who's the architect working on this. So they haven't had a chance to look at it. They have talked to them once, so there won't be any approval from them for probably a week to 2 weeks. So anything that you decide tonight should be contingent upon their approval.
Sure.
yes.
Are those elevations available? Because we have nothing here other than the detailed drawing of columns.
Yeah, I brought a set of plans. They're the large ones. I did not have an electronic version.
This is the first accident on Larson.
Well, it's usually customary in these site plan reviews to have a rendition of the elevations.
Well, I'm only concerned with the structural for the canopy and the footings itself with ours, because that's what we're going to do, but the architect engineering firm is handling the grade elevation as we continue to build it. So, like I said, I apologize that this is the first estimate we used today too, and they haven't even sent us one of these today.
So you're just doing
Just the canopy?
the canopy.
Yeah, and the footings for the canopy, sir.
And putting the tank
Mr.
in.
Chair,
Yeah, We put in the underground storage tanks too. We'll do all the related piping for the underground storage tanks and the new fueling islands and everything like that, which we have our 45-day approval already from the state of Michigan on that part.
Well, then will this come back for site plan review for the remainder?
No, everything else will be contingent upon engineering's approval.
Well, it's very unusual.
No, that's happened quite a few times.
We've done that before.
Engineering
Was that an
just,
elevation?
right.
Contingent upon engineering.
That's up to engineering to decide if the elevations are good or not. That's what you get from their report when they filed their report with us. But like I said, they just got these plans this afternoon.
It also says here, new pumps will be installed. They'll be the same number in the same location.
Well, right now, you have two separate canopies at that site.
Right.
Both canopies are going to be taken down, and there's going to be one main canopy. It's 45 by 99. That's the dimensions of the canopy. There's going to be a total, I think, of 6 canopies under that. No, 8 dispensers underneath that canopy.
Oh, okay, so will that be,
Rain fueling islands, guard poles, and just brand new dispensers too. Everything's going to be the state of the art, through the state of Michigan, through the federal government's for.
would I be right in assuming that would be along the State Street side of the property?
Yes.
One
No,
long-
I'm sorry, is that Mackinac Street?
Mackinac.
Yeah, it's
Yep.
on Mackinac Street.
Oh, okay.
It's gonna be on that side,
So one long canopy on the Mackinac side?
correct,
Okay.
Will there still be like a little store inside?
yes,
Okay.
yep. And they have plans down the road, there's a vacant building behind there that they will be done in that building too.
That's like a law office or something?
Yeah.
Which way is the other, there's two buildings, which way is it?
East.
East?
Yeah, so I think it is the east, yeah.
That's
It
a-
is, it's right on Marshall.
Comes off of Marshall.
Yeah, that was a-
There was an attorney's office there in Marshall Court.
It's empty now.
That'll be coming down probably after we get the main project done. And
Okay.
take that down. Another contractor's been awarded that project, so.
This is where you already have the big piece of equipment sitting there ready to go to
Yeah.
work.
They put the cart in front of the horses.
I assume the tanks on that site right now are the new tanks.
Yeah. We apologize, everybody forgot about the approvals.
What's involved in tanks, just out of curiosity? The new tanks are somehow better than what was in the ground?
Well, they're, I think there's two tanks, they're fiberglass double wall tanks. You got an interstitial where you're able to monitor the interstitial of the primary tank itself. And I don't remember the age of those tanks that are there now, but I think they're close to being 22, 24 years of age. And they are steel tanks. So fiberglass, you don't have to worry about corrosion. They'll last 30 years. They're very durable. You don't have to worry about rocks coming up from the ground and rubbing on the steel or anything like that. So it's just, they're a lot better design than what you have there now. I mean, they've been putting fiberglass tanks in for ever since the 70s, but it's been more required now that everything that is put in, double wall. So, along with your piping too, it's required to put in double wall piping too. Either fiberglass or iron flex all. You have to have monitors, tank monitor, you gotta have sumps, you gotta have sensors in your containment sumps, you gotta have sensors in your dispenser cans. So things have just, it's gotten more costly, but it's, environmentally, it's a lot more friendly, it's better than what it has,
During the course of replacing these tanks and pumps, are there any concerns as far as ground contamination?
There's gonna be an environmental company,
Okay.
and right now, they already know that by doing tests at the site, they already know that they have between 15 to 2,000 tons of soil that is contaminated to a certain degree that's going to be removed from the site. Then we bring it bill in.
Sure.
Bill, yeah. Where the old tanks are at now, they'll be compacting that with, they'll be putting in sand, but they'll be compacting it in levels for compaction. So yeah, it's one of those sites where
Exactly.
it needs to be cleaned up.
Oh, yeah.
That being the case, what's the timing involved here of the whole project?
I would probably guess, once everything is in place, I would say 30 to 40 days maybe. once you get the tanks, our plan is to put the new tanks in. Well, excuse me, on the state side, there's a canopy there. We'll take that down, remove the footings, then we'll put the tanks in. And we'll start to continue to dig and clean. Then we'll go take the tanks out there in front of the other side, on the other side of the building, on the Mackinac side, take that canopy down and the tanks out, and they'll continue to clean. Once all that's done, you know, we could, I would say 30 to 40 days, 30 to 45 days. Yeah, be on the safe side. As long as you don't run into weather, rain, not snow.
We're not gonna say that,
Gone.
we're not gonna say that S word anymore.
Yeah, most of them.
That period, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, sir.
Go ahead, finish.
It could take 2 months, it could take 60 days, so.
That 60 days is for the completion of the ground preparation, placing the tanks and building the canopy.
Yes, correct, yeah.
Well, I've got no problem with that, but I have a problem with what happens after that. We have nothing to go by, and I don't wanna detain your work, because I know you want to get started as soon as possible. But I think the only thing we can really approve is the preparation of the site, placing of the tanks, removal of contaminated soil, and the building of the canopies. I don't see where we can approve the building.
Building's already there.
Yeah, that's my question is, I'm assuming that there is no change to entrance and exit from the
No,
property, and no
everything
change
remains the same.
to the existing building that's the station.
Correct, that stays the same.
So there's, you're talking
The
about,
only thing that's gonna change on the building is the fascia maybe, because it's gonna go from Sunoco to BP imaging. Same thing on the canopy, and the dispensers from Sunoco to BP. And, yeah, that'd be it.
The building stays there.
The building stays there.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I was the opinion it was all being torn down. I'm
Just the
sorry.
one, just the one.
I withdraw that comment.
I allow you to withdraw it
Thank you.
in my powerful position.
No, I was the opinion that building was to be demolished.
Well, the other one is, but not the main building.
Yeah, I drove by the other day. I saw those
Do we
tanks.
have any other questions?
Well, I guess for clarification, that you're saying, you know, we're giving actual calendar days.
Mhm.
So if the planning commission gave you until, I'm be very generous, up until August 1st for completion of
90
everything.
days.
I don't see a problem with that.
Because
And then if there
normally
is a problem-
we've given 6 months, but you're telling us 45 days.
45, I say 2 months, 30 to 60 days.
I know, but you know,
Yeah.
weather, Michigan,
Yeah.
are you kidding?
My
And if
son-
there's anything that you need from us for
Right.
notification, if anything gets delayed, you guys need to be notified, we just let us know, and we'll take care of it.
I would say we'd be liberal and say 90 days, just to, you don't have to come back and everything will be done.
Okay.
That's my thought, but.
Good thought.
So if that covers all our questions, I would entertain a motion.
so move.
Support.
Well, we need the motion.
So
first.
move what?
I move that we approve the site plan contingent upon approval by engineering of the grades and elevation with a completion date of August 1st.
Well said. Support that.
Support?
It's been moved and supported that we approve this Corrigan Oil Company proposal for the gas station on State Street. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you for your time.
Deed is done.
What'd you say, August what?
First.
Okay.
Thanks.
Oh, I was of the opinion that the building,
Yeah, well, see, that wasn't in the site plan, so I assume the building is being left where it was.
I thought this was coming down. When I talked to Mike today, he didn't tell me it was coming down.
Yeah, it's not. Just that
So,
one.
and they're gonna tear this down.
In the
Anything that
future.
they would do there would be a separate site plan.
Yeah, that would be.
Yeah, I was of the opinion this was coming down.
Oh.
Next item on the agenda is for our further discussion of the proposal for a Central City Historic District. Do you want to start us off, Mike?
Well, last week I contacted members of the Historic District Commission, and I thought we'd have 2 or 3 of them here this evening. As of last Thursday, there were 2 or 3 coming, and I don't know what happened to them. Now, when you got the report, 2-3 months ago now, that was required by state law to send that to you along with the Historic Preservation Office in Lansing and a couple of other departments. You got that because the state law required it, and so that you could take a look at it and make comments if you wanted to. It's not necessary that you make any comments, but that was one of the requirements by state law. So I don't know if you've had a chance to look it over. If I don't think any of you live in the Cathedral District, or if you've talked to anybody over there. In the last 2 months, Bill Ernett and some of the Historic District members have been to the to the Cathedral District meeting to inform them and answer questions. They may go back again in May. That's up to the chairman of the Cathedral District if he wants them to come back, or if he thinks that everybody has the answers that they need. Now, the next step would be a public hearing that would probably happen in late May or early June, depending on if they're wanted back to the Cathedral District meeting in May. After that, after the public hearing, the HDC has to get petitions signed by a majority of the residents in the Historic District. That'd be 51%. And after that, then it would go to City Council for their approval or denial.
I did call Tom Mudd. I had an email exchange with him about this, and and then 2 additional ones with Bill Ostesh, who is chair of the Historic District Commission. And the main thing I wanted to be sure of was that the people in the district, in that area, support it. And he said actually they've been wanting it for a long time. So I covered a couple other details. He sent me information including what you just alluded to, the process, the entire process for getting that designation. And strangely enough, it's 8 steps, and strangely enough, the final step is not City Council approval. It doesn't even mention City Council.
Oh, the City Council
But,
does have to approve it.
Yeah, I assumed that was somehow left off this for sure. So, I guess our position would be, if we had any objection or any comment we wanted to forward to the commission. If we do, we can certainly, if we want to, we can do that. I have satisfied any question I had.
And I think in many ways that area is more historic than some of the other historic districts.
The biggest drawback to forming a local historic district is that anytime you want to do anything to the outside of your property, you need to go to the Historic District Commission first. And I'll let these guys talk about it further.
It was 6 yesterday.
They're still here waiting.
Ah, well.
So these are the guys to ask questions of.
Okay.
There's 5 of us, but we're 2. So.
And you've got to talk by the microphone so that I can hear what's going on.
Well, we just started to, we only had 2 items on our agenda tonight, and this question about the district was the second one, which we had just gotten to. And we just sort of reviewed the fact that we had first seen this about a couple of months ago, and we discussed it some then, and Mike was reviewing with us the process for the designation from beginning to end. I had been in touch with Tom and with Bill. I had a couple of questions. I mainly was interested in whether or not he thought that the residents supported it, which they do, I am told. And so that's where we are. So you can add
So-
anything to our knowledge.
Okay, so what is it that you want to know? Did you have certain questions, or?
I have none at this point. Does anyone else?
No, I'm just kind of concerned about the comment that you just made about anybody doing anything to the property has to get approved.
To the outside.
To the outside.
Not on the inside of the property. They need to get approval. There is a list of guidelines and things that staff can approve, and then the rest have to go to the council. As an example, I had a man call today, and he'll be before the historic district, I'm not sure when. But he moved into the Heritage Square district, and I'm not sure when or anything else, but he wants to replace his driveway. He says his property has a lot of chestnut trees, and two of the trees, the roots of them are coming up and they're ruining his driveway. And he feels that he's gonna need to cut down a tree. And so he started asking questions about the process, and I told him that he would need to go before the Historic District Commission. And then he asked, what was the other one?
To cut down a tree?
To cut down a tree, and also I think he was thinking about different siding for his house, and I explained he needed to go to the commission for that. And when I got done, he said if I had known that, I probably wouldn't have bought this house.
Yeah, but that should have been up to the real estate agent, shouldn't it?
Right, and some of
Yeah.
them have been telling people that it appears that not all of them
Is this on?
are.
Okay, that's been a problem, and I've actually extended myself out to the real estate
I'm sorry,
association.
we do ask you to state your name and address
Oh,
for the record.
Okay, my name is Bill Ostash.
Oh,
I'm the
so
Historic
you're-
District Chair.
Email.
And that has been a problem. We tried to work with the realtors on that. Some of the realtors will actually get a hold of people. They know because they live down there. People that live in the district right now are very active in that. I know Sherry Gregory is one of them. If she sees a for sale sign go up or something, she'll call the realtor and make them aware of it. A lot of the realtors, they're not really big on selling in the city. Most of them are township realtors, so that's always been an issue with us. So I've extended myself more than one time to come and talk at their real estate association meetings, but I've never heard back from them. So we put ourselves out there for the education process, but it's up to them to reciprocate and let us come and talk, and that's not happened. Mike talks about the preservation guidelines. Within the state law, we here as a commission had to do three things. One of them was to have our preservation guidelines. We have to have bylaws, and we also have to have an enforcement policy. When Greg Branch was on the commission and he was chair, they took care of the guidelines. Your guidelines are kind of nice because it's not like you need to go through an ordinance change where it needs to go to council, attorneys need to write it up. There are things that we can write up that support our ordinance and support the state law, PA 169. But then also the commissioners can review it and we can change it with the majority vote. And those are one of the things that we're doing right now. So when we talk about siding and trees and shrubs and various things, because that has come up with the new district recently, it states landscaping, but doesn't really state what kind of landscaping. And the commissioners kind of look at it as large-scale landscaping. If you look at some of the cases that have even went to the state, somebody was taking down an oak tree that was 150 years old, and the roots might extend. I think this case was in Ann Arbor. Those are the kind of things that we look at. So if somebody's going to take down a tree, the tree has to have some sort of a disease to it, or some kind of an arborist has to say that the tree can come down. The commission will look at what is it going to do to the streetscape, how's it going to change things. So each case is different in its own right. Driveways and stuff like that can come to us. But one of the things that we've been doing, and we got into a discussion last night, is creating this new district. A lot of questions have come up, and even with our guidelines, and we've started to look at Bay City and Midland, they actually have a checklist. So here's your landscaping. What kind of things would come to the commission? What can you do on your own? What can the city approve? And so I haven't put this on the agenda yet, Mike, but it was going to be an add-on, so we could kind of introduce it. We could start to talk about it. We want to be fair to the homeowners. We don't want to be as pure as some cities might be. But we do, I think our main focus right now, and even in trying to create this new district, along with the state of Michigan, we felt that it was important to save the structures that are still there that we can save. So you're looking at demolition. And when you go to demo something, there's a 4-step process. They have to meet one of the criteria in order to bring the building down. And I think that's important. And a lot of people that I talk to on the street, they also think that's important. And some of the city council also feel that that's very important, that we've lost too much.
What are the 4 steps process?
What are the 4 steps? One of the steps has to be that it is a public safety hazard. So the building's unsafe to its occupants or the public. The second step has to be where the particular building would be, or whatever they're trying to demolish, would be something that's holding up a major community project. And in that case, what they have to do is just get all their zoning and planning approvals. They have to, prove that they got their financing, of course, because a lot of times if they don't have their financing and you bring a building down, now it's gone, and then they don't have their financing, so they have to make sure that that's been covered, and they also have to have their environmental studies done. So if they can have all 3 of those done, and then we can proceed. We do what's called a notice to proceed at that point. It's because normally when they come to the commission, they filled out a certificate. They want a certificate of appropriateness, meaning what the work that they're going to do is appropriate for historic district. And then the 4th criteria would be that the majority of the community doesn't feel that the resource is worth standing anymore. So then they could take that down.
What happens in a situation in, like, for instance, the new historic district, where you already have dwellings that are already on the edge of being almost past the useful life of the building and really disrepair, and you turn that into a historic district, then they would have to go through the same steps to have the buildings taken down, correct?
If they're within the district, they would have to.
Yeah.
Now, which buildings are we referring to?
I'm just saying if there's any in a new district.
Okay. In this particular...
a house in the district.
Right. Part of the study that we did with ICF was we identified, I think, 7 or 8 structures that should come down.
Yeah.
And those are in the study. They have not come down. I don't really know why. Maybe it was money. We had to meet certain deadlines. That would be a question I'd have to throw over to somebody else, but I do think one of them is in the process of almost coming down, which is the old Have-A-Bar site, which is on Hoyt. Have-A-Bar was the ice cream place. Looks like it's being marked up, so I'm not sure if that's on the demo list right now or not.
I'm just asking, I'm just putting the question.
Yeah, that would be true. Yes.
Not being specific, it's general.
Right. And so in that particular case, what we could do a lot of times is either Scott Crowfoot would go out or some kind of, somebody from the city, and they would do a report on what the standing of the building. Is it a dangerous building or not?
Any further questions?
As you mentioned in your conversations that you've been assured that the majority of people in the district are in favor of this designation. How have you determined that? Has that in fact been determined, or is that just a guess at this point?
From what I've been hearing and over from the last 20 years, a lot of the residents that live there do want this. They wanted it. Kevin's lived in the district, our secretary. He's been there since 1992. They'll all be getting a mail. Well, one of the things is, too, is a lot of times we never really engage the neighborhoods. A lot of times it just goes right to public hearing. And we've been appearing at their neighborhood association meetings. I live now in that district, and my home would be in the new district as well. So we have been telling them what's coming, allowed them to answer questions. We've met with them again this month. We've offered to meet with them again next month if they still want us to. So I think we're really trying to get the word out there. I mean, it has come to the newspaper. I still feel a majority of them do want it. I think there are a couple that have concerns. It's interesting to see that their concerns are landscaping. What kind of flowers can they plant? Which has sparked us to revisit some of our guidelines, and so that's why I brought that up earlier. It's not like we send out a petition or anything like that, having people sign it. Basically, it's just been kind of word of mouth and what we've heard over the years. And a lot of times when we put together a study committee, the study committees are just put together to go out and do a study and then kind of get feedback on what people think about it.
Well, am I correct in this process that at some point, somebody has to determine if a majority of the people in the district support it? How is that done? How's that
Through the
gonna be
public
done?
hearing.
That's one of the steps.
I know it is, but how's that going to be done?
That is,
That's city council. That's when it goes to city council, and that's where we ask for city council's approval to approve the district.
Before that, there needs to be a petition signed by 51% of the population.
Okay, just a second. I want to comment on that because I just read an email on that. What Mike's stating right now is something that I've actually contacted the state on. I keep hearing that there's this 51% that need to sign a petition. I've been reading the law just before I got here, and the law is talking about, it states that they can petition the local unit. And then there's a 60-day window that we can't establish the district. But also, I was working with Amy Arnold, who is the SHPO expert down at the state, and I'm probably going to have to get the attorney involved on this one because the Attorney General's website, Opinion 6609, I think, and 6619 state that there is no petition to create local law. And I've got both of those as well, and I was going to share them with Mike. I'm sorry that I had to just kind of bring that up, but it is something that I'm looking into and something I'm going to have to address tomorrow.
but is it beyond question that a majority of people in the district will decide the issue?
They can it's like anything that goes before city council, and I think we experienced that last night. You can have a majority of people that can come here and make a public appearance, personal appearance, and they can speak out for or against a new ordinance.
Well, I'm talking about the vote in the district of the residents.
There isn't, that I'm aware of, but I will find that out tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
Or the next day. And the public hearing is that section where they have the opportunity to come to the city and voice their opinion, either for or against it. Before, at that point, because once the district is adopted, we already have a local ordinance for a historic district. So they would just be approving a new district that would be then absorbed right into the local ordinance, which is 153. So I apologize for that, and I need to find that out tomorrow. I've been already in conversations with the state, and I'm not aware of any petition, but I will have an answer for that.
Well, I don't want to belabor this, but on page 1 of this thing that we got, this report, it says, well, actually page 2, the city must take these actions within 1 year of public hearing. Committee will prepare and submit final report with recommendations, including those from the city's planning commission to the city council. And then number 2, it says the city council shall not pass an ordinance establishing a historic district until a majority of the property owners within the proposed district have approved the establishment of the historic district pursuant to a written petition. That's my question.
That's the piece of 169 that I'm referring to that I need to find out.
Okay.
Because I'm getting
169
conflicting answers right now from the state. So,
169 does say there is a petition.
That's in the report.
Yeah. But the state's saying no. So now I've got our State Historic Preservation Office, who's the expert on PA 169, contradicting exactly what's written there. And I actually reached out to Greg Branch, who did the district on North Michigan Avenue, and he, again, as well, backed up what the state was saying. So I've got to go back and I've got to get to the bottom of this.
That's a key point.
It is. And I might have to, in this particular case, what I'm probably going to have to do is get a hold of Scott Grammer. He is the state attorney for SHPO. And I'm going to have to get this cleared up.
Where did 169 come from, city?
No, it's
no.
a state law.
Yeah, state law. Back in 1966, they created what's called the National Historic Preservation Act through the federal government under the National Parks and Services, and once they did that, developed for all 60, or all 50 states at that point to establish their own SHPO offices. And so then after that, the state of Michigan in 1970 created the Public Act for Historic Preservation. And then that's basically what our local ordinance is molded off of.
Basically, we're all confused.
Well,
I don't think we're all too, well, we have a question. We have a question, and I've had a long day. I apologize, you know, I was at my real job all day, and I came home from work, and I had it kind of thrown at me, and so 15 minutes before I left the house, I was reading again real quick, and I was going to get an answer to that so that I have something for Thursday when we meet, because I'm sure, I know it's going to come up then, and I want to make sure that we're doing the right thing. The commissioners are all about process and procedure, so we want to make sure that we're doing the right thing, so that we don't end up in a legal situation later on. No, that's not good.
it's hard to believe that the state would not have settled this one
Well,
way or another a long time ago.
Yeah, and you know, and we were at the Cathedral District Association last week, and we were talking about it. And Bill, I like Bill and Mike, great guys, but Bill kind of brought it up, and I kind of looked like this when he said, "What's in the packet?" And I said, "Okay, so I'm going to have to look into that." And so that's kind of where we are right now. And I have been working with the state. I just don't have the right answer, and I apologize for that tonight. But I'll get that to you.
Okay,
Yeah.
we would be interested
Okay.
very much in the answer to that question.
Okay.
Because I think that would affect what comment we certainly might pass on to city
Right.
council.
Okay.
So that's our next step. That's a question for the staff. Our recommendation would be yes or no for the district, or approve or endorse it.
You can, or like I was saying earlier, you don't have to do anything.
No, we can do nothing, certainly.
Right. You know, I can say, though, the folks that I talk to that live in Heritage Square, we've been talking about, you know, the concerns of the people in the Cathedral District and the ones that have wanted it for all these years, because we have lost a lot of homes and a lot of buildings over there. Even though right now there are no state tax credits, they were taken out of the current budget once we start balancing the budget under the current administration, under Snyder's administration. And I've heard they could come back. It was a nice tax credit, and 25%. But the people that live over there, they like it. I mean, one of the ladies made a comment. She says, if you look at my side of the block on Court Street, as opposed to some of the other parts of the neighborhood, she says you can definitely tell that we're in a historic district. And one of the things that they do over there is it seems like they have a lot of pride in their neighborhood. And even if they get something approved by us, they have a sign, kind of like the sign of about the size of a realtor sign, and they'll actually place that in their yards, showing that their projects were approved and they went through the process. And just to kind of put that education out there. And yeah. But like I tell everybody too, you know, we have 3 local single entity buildings in the district that are their own districts in themselves. And so we have the Temple Theater. So the Temple Theater is preserved under, you know, our local ordinance. We have the Jefferson 1 building, and we also have the Armory. Especially when you're talking about the Temple, the way I look as I look down the road, it does protect the building where somebody cannot come along and use other forms of law to actually alter or remove the building because there's another project coming downtown.
Well, it does certainly, in my mind at least, makes sense that you would have regulations about what someone can do to the exterior, because without that, then how can there even be any historic
Right.
preservation? So,
Right. And even when you look at like your exterior changes that you're making, sometimes you might not be able to get that feature, especially like even on my house. And so a lot of times you just recreate it, or there's other ways to make it look like it does. I mean, there's a lot of times you still can't buy that material because the material is over 100 years old.
So there is some latitude there.
There is some latitude. Yep, the laws are written in that way. If you look at the standards, which we vote on, there's 10 different standards. it does give you a lot of leeway, but then you also have to look at how much are they going to remove? What are they actually going to take away? Or if they're adding to the house, what are they adding to the house that was never really there? And I always compare us to other cities like Heritage Hill and Grand Rapids and stuff like that. We're not that pure. But I was hoping that maybe someday that we'd be like Grand Rapids getting infill and they start building new Victorian. I mean, I'm an optimist. But yeah, so we have a lot of room that we can work with people. A lot of districts don't even let you use vinyl. We use vinyl windows. People can put vinyl on the house as long as they don't destroy the clapboard that's there. So basically, you're looking at something that's being done now, but if removed in the future, what does that actually do to the overall architecture of the house? So we take those things in consideration.
Very good. If there are no further comments or questions, I guess then we will be interested in the
Okay.
answer to the question. about-
Yeah. Yeah, and I apologize, I didn't have that answer for you when I walked in the door, but I'm trying. And Mike knows we try to do the right thing, so
Very good.
we'll get it cleared up and go from there.
Very good.
Okay.
Do you have in mind at all right now the timeline, how this is going to play out, or is it maybe a little too early to say when things are going to happen?
I know we're not in a rush for it. We want to make sure that the residents are okay with it. We're still trying to get confusion and questions answered there. And like the report that you were looking at, there were timelines that we had to meet. The reason why those timelines were so stringent and we had to meet those and we're still on this process is because it was NSP2 money from the state. So there was guidelines we were trying to meet. ICF was working a lot of hours just to get this done in 4 months. They did 125 homes, and that's a lot. I mean, for us to take that on as a study committee, we were being asked to at one time, and we were trying to study certain pieces of Jefferson Avenue. The 5 of us could never have done that in that amount of time. So we were trying to meet those time constraints, because normally it would probably take us about a year to do the study, probably about a year to go through the rest of the process. It's not something that develops right away. So with the money that was involved and the stuff we had to do, we met those guidelines, and yet we're still in the process of still trying to get this through the other channels now. So hopefully this summer would be nice.
Very good. Thank you for your time.
Yeah.
Sure.
What Kevin's got there is the guidelines, and it'll also state what the city can approve. So if somebody's coming down for their building permit or such, there is stuff that the city can just go right and approve for them once they fill out their application. Another thing I want to mention too is I met with our manager Tim Morales last week too, and John Stemple. And one of the things we're working on right now too is some of the some situations in the city where an emergency happens, and what do we do? There might be situations we're not sure yet where with John Stemple, he might be able to take care of something without the city, without the HDC involved, like if a tree has fallen on a house. But if not, we're working through that as well to find out, well, what is it that we can do? How are we going to react in certain emergency situations? So I don't know if that's going to be part of our bylaws or part of our guidelines, but we're working through that process right now as well. So.
Okay,
Okay.
very good. I see no one here for public comment. Therefore, can I say it? We're adjourned. If I had a gavel.